Hey, you're still awake? It's late. The house is quiet. You're lying there with your eyes open in the dark, jaw tight, shoulders holding more than they should. The phone is face down, but part of you is still listening for it. The clock changes numbers. Again, your chest feels heavy. Breaths stay shallow. Nothing is happening yet. Your body won't stand down. Tonight, you don't need to fix anything. You don't have to solve your life right now. In a moment, I want to show you something small, a narrow space between the thought and the reaction where control quietly returns. If your jaw wants to loosen, let it. If your shoulders want to drop, don't stop them. You don't need to do anything else. Just breathe and listen. The quiet stays with you longer than you expect. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that hums. The room is dark, but your mind is still lit up. Somewhere outside, a car passes. Tires on asphalt. Then nothing again. You're lying still, but part of you hasn't landed. It's like your body made it to the night, but your attention didn't. Picture a parking lot after a late shift. Most of the lights are off now. Only a few cars left, yours included. You sit behind the wheel with the engine cold, hands resting where they always do. One on the steering wheel, one near the phone. The screen is dark, face down, but it still pulls. There's a coffee cup in the holder, lukewarm, bitter now. You took 2 sips after work and forgot about it. Just like you forgot to unclench your jaw. The building behind you is quiet. No one needs anything from you anymore. At least not officially. But the day hasn't released you. A message from earlier replays itself without sound. Not even the words. Just the feeling. Something that sat wrong. A tone, a look, a moment where you swallowed instead of responding. Your shoulders tighten as if it's happening again. They don't wait for permission. They've learned this pattern. The clock on the dashboard flips from 1 minute to the next. You notice it because there's nothing else demanding you right now. No meetings, no tasks, no roles to perform. Just you and whatever followed you out of the building. This is the part most people rush through. They turn the key. They turn on music. They reach for the phone. Anything to fill the space before it fills them. But tonight, the space stays open a little longer. You don't call it stress. You don't call it anger. You don't label it at all. You just notice the way your breath sits high in your chest, the way your tongue presses against the roof of your mouth, the way your body is braced as if something might still happen. Nothing is happening. That's what makes this moment uncomfortable. In American life, silence often feels like failure. If you're not producing, reacting, responding, you feel behind. Like you're letting something get away from you. So your instincts lean forward, toward action, toward response. The phone buzzes once. Not a message, just a notification you didn't ask for. Your fingers twitch before you think about it. They know the move. This is how the conditioning works, not loudly, not dramatically. Quiet repetition. Day after day, moment after moment, your nervous system learns one rule. When something stirs, you move, answer, explain, defend, distract. Sitting still feels wrong because it isn't practiced. In this parking lot, With the lights half out and the building asleep, you're not dealing with a crisis. You're dealing with a habit of staying ready, even when there's nothing left to fight. The night doesn't demand anything from you. It just reflects what's already there. A man alone in his car, a long day behind him. Tomorrow, waiting quietly. This is not a dramatic moment. No music swells. No decision is announced. But this is where something real lives. Not in what you say next. Not in what you post. Not in what you replay. In whether you can sit here with the engine off the phone face down and your body slowly realizing it doesn't have to respond to everything that moves. You notice the objects before the thoughts attached to them. The phone stays face down on the console, but it isn't quiet. It never is. Even without lighting up, it carries weight. A promise, a threat, an unfinished conversation waiting to be reopened. Your hand doesn't touch it, yet it knows exactly where it is. The coffee cup sits in the holder, half full, long past warm. You bought it to push through the last hour of the day. Now, it's just there. Bitter forgotten, doing nothing, like the extra effort you gave after you were already empty. The keys rest against your leg, heavy, familiar. They mean motion, responsibility, another round of driving, another place to show up. They don't ask if you're ready. They just assume you will be. On the passenger seat, there's a folded pay stub. You didn't look at it closely. You already know what it says. Enough to keep things moving. Not enough to feel ahead. Numbers like that don't shout. They press. In the dim light, your wedding ring catches a reflection from the dash. Just enough to remind you it's there. You turn it once without thinking. A small habit from moments when words don't help. That ring doesn't accuse. It doesn't comfort either. It simply represents a standard you carry into rooms where no one sees how tired you are. Sometimes there's a kid's backpack in the back seat. Sometimes it's not. Either way, you feel it. The space it takes up. The reason you don't get to fall apart publicly. These objects don't hurt you. They don't argue. They don't demand explanations. But together, they apply pressure. Not all at once. Not dramatically. Just enough to keep your nervous system alert, long after the day is over. This is how modern weight works. It isn't a single crisis. It's accumulation. Small signals reminding you of who needs you, what's expected, and how little margin there is for mistakes. The mistake most men make here isn't anger, it's urgency. The belief that every sensation needs a response, that every pressure point must be relieved immediately. This is where Stoicism stops being an idea and becomes practical. The old Stoics didn't live with phones buzzing in their pockets, but they understood something timeless. External things can press without being in charge. A cup can be bitter without ruining the night. A number can be tight without defining the man. A message can exist without being answered. The pressure comes from contact. The suffering comes from surrender. There's an old image used in Stoic writing, not as a metaphor for peace, but for discipline. A man standing in the rain without cursing the sky. Not because he enjoys being wet, because yelling doesn't dry him. The rain is outside his control. His conduct isn't. These objects around you are like that rain. They're real, they matter, but they don't get a vote on how you behave. Mental strength isn't built by removing pressure. It's built by learning how to stand inside it without collapsing or lashing out. Here's the life lesson most men learn too late. You don't need to get rid of the phone. You need to stop letting it set your tempo. You don't need more money to feel steady. You need fewer reactions tied to numbers. You don't need silence from the world. You need authority over yourself. That's mental toughness, not the loud kind, the quiet kind that doesn't announce itself. Just for this moment, stay with the objects as they are. Don't push them away. Don't reach for them either. Let the phone remain face down. Let the coffee stay bitter. Let the keys rest where they are. Notice your breath without fixing it. Notice the urge to move without obeying it. This isn't a technique, it's a pause, a small one. And in that pause, something important becomes clear. The pressure hasn't increased, your reaction to it has softened. That's the beginning of control returning, not to the world, to you. If these moments feel familiar, you don't need to say anything, just stay. Stoic Saga is built for nights like this. That softening you feel doesn't last on its own. Something presses against it. Not a voice, not a person, not even a thought you can point to. It's a pattern. The moment your grip loosens, something inside you leans forward again. Ready, alert, prepared to respond. That's the enemy most men never name. It doesn't show up as danger. It shows up as urgency, the need to answer now, to explain now, to react now before the moment passes and you lose your chance to matter. You can feel it in your hands before it reaches your mind. A twitch, a readiness, like you're about to miss something important if you don't move. Nothing is actually happening, but your body has been trained to believe something always is. This is reaction culture at work. Not online outrage, not loud arguments, something quieter. 1,000 small moments every day where you're nudged to respond before you decide. The phone buzzes and you reach. A comment lands and your chest tightens. A tone feels off and your jaw sets. You don't ask whether it deserves your energy. You just give it. Over time, that reflex becomes automatic. And automatic things feel like personality. You start to believe this is just how you are. Quick to react, always on, always braced. But it isn't you. It's conditioning. There's a story told about a man standing in the middle of a crowded marketplace while everyone around him shouts bargains, argues, demands. He doesn't cover his ears. He doesn't leave. He stands still, not frozen, not numb, present. Someone asks why he isn't responding to the noise. He says nothing at first. Then quietly, because none of it is asking for my character. That's the difference. Reaction culture trains you to believe every stimulus is a summons. Stoicism trains you to notice the summons and decide whether to answer. Most of what reaches you isn't a call to action. It's a test of impulse. The world is full of buttons. Reaction culture spends all day pressing them. If you respond every time you don't stay strong, you stay busy. Busy defending, busy explaining, busy undoing things you said too fast. Mental strength isn't built by faster responses. It's built by fewer unnecessary ones. Here are the life lessons hidden inside this enemy. You don't owe every feeling a performance. You don't owe every opinion a reply. You don't owe every irritation your evening. Silence isn't weakness when it's chosen. Delay isn't avoidance when it's deliberate. Calm isn't passive when it's disciplined. Mental toughness looks like this in real life. You read the message and don't answer yet. You feel the surge and don't obey it. You notice the urge and let it pass. That's strength, quiet strength. This is where Stoic meditation begins, not sitting cross-legged, not chasing calm, but standing watch. Watching the impulse rise, watching it peak, watching it fall without being fed. No judgment, no suppression, just awareness. If you want, let your breathing slow slightly here, not on purpose, just because there's nothing to react to. Let the space stretch a little. This is the gap Stoicism protects. The narrow space where freedom lives. Not freedom from pressure. Freedom from being owned by it. If these words feel familiar, if this enemy feels close, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're just waking up to the pattern. And once you can see it, you can train against it. Most people get this wrong at the very beginning. They think strength means not feeling anything. They think control means shutting it all down, jaw locked, face flat, heart sealed off. That's not what's happening here. If anything, what you're feeling right now proves the opposite. Your chest tightens because you care. Your mind loops because something matters. Your body stays alert because it learned to protect. Nothing about that is weak. The misunderstanding starts when people confuse restraint with repression. A man snaps at his family, then says, "That's just how I am." Another man swallows everything, stays quiet for years, then explodes one night and surprises everyone, including himself. Both believe they're being strong in their own way. Neither is. There's an old image passed around in different traditions long before self-help had a name. A man standing on a riverbank, watching the water rush past. He doesn't jump in to fight the current. He doesn't dam it up either. He watches. The water still moves, fast, cold, loud, but it doesn't decide where he stands. That's the part most people miss. Stoicism never asked you to stop feeling. It asked you to stop letting feeling make decisions for you. Anger can show up without being handed the keys. Fear can pass through without being put in charge. Desire can knock without being invited to stay. What matters is not the emotion. It's the handoff. Most men were never taught there's a gap there. They were taught two options: only react or suppress. React feels honest. Suppress feels disciplined. Both are shortcuts. Real discipline lives in between. There's a moment small, almost invisible, where you notice the surge before it becomes speech or action. Your heart rate jumps. Your shoulders rise. Your mouth wants to move. That's not failure. That's the signal. In Stoic terms, that signal is where your work begins. Not later when the damage is done. Not earlier when nothing is happening. Right there. This is why calm Stoic men often get misunderstood as detached or cold. What people don't see is the internal effort, the restraint that costs energy, the choice to carry heat without spreading it. Think of a firefighter holding a line. The fire doesn't disappear because he's brave. It stays dangerous. It stays hot, but it doesn't cross. That's mental toughness. Here are the life lessons hidden inside this truth. You don't win by never feeling anger. You win by not letting anger speak first. You don't become steady by avoiding discomfort. You become steady by staying present while it passes. Silence isn't weakness when it's chosen under pressure. It's strength with manners. This is where Stoic meditation actually lives, not in candles or perfect stillness, but in noticing the moment before you react. If you want, try this quietly right now. Don't change your breath, just notice it. Don't relax your body on purpose. Just feel where it's tense. Let the thought that's been circling stay there without fixing it. This isn't avoidance, it's training. A journal page later will help you understand the pattern. This moment helps you interrupt it. That's the difference. Stoicism doesn't make you less human. It makes you harder to hijack. If this reframes something you've struggled with, you don't need to announce it. Just keep listening. Stoic Saga is built for men learning how to hold the line, not by numbing themselves, but by choosing who gets control when it counts. That gap you've been touching, the one where impulse rises and action hasn't happened yet, that's not an accident. That space has a name. The old Stoics called it the inner citadel, not a feeling, not a mood, a structure. Picture a small fort built inside a man, not visible, not impressive from the outside, but solid. No matter how loud the world gets, the citadel stays intact because it was never meant to control the outside, only the gate. Most people try to control life the wrong way. They fight traffic. They argue with opinions. They replay conversations trying to rewrite them. That's like yelling at the weather and wondering why you're exhausted. The Stoic move is quieter. It starts with a simple division, so simple it almost feels insulting until you live it. Some things are yours to command. Some things never will be. Your thoughts about what happened, yours. Your next action, yours. The tone someone used, not yours. The past, not yours. Whether someone understands you, not yours. Most stress comes from mixing these up. A man gets disrespected at work. He can't control the other person's behavior, but he can control whether he carries that heat home and hands it to his family. A driver cuts you off. You can't control their impatience, but you can control whether your evening is now ruined over a stranger you'll never see again. This isn't about being passive. It's about being precise. The inner citadel is where you decide what crosses the line. There's a story about a Roman general walking through a city that hated him. People shouted insults from windows, threw trash, tried to provoke a response. He kept walking, not because he didn't hear them, because he knew what was inside his authority and what wasn't. They could throw words. They couldn't force him to throw himself away. That's the principle. Your power doesn't live in preventing disturbance. It lives in refusing to be rearranged by it. This is what mental strength actually looks like in daily life. You feel anger rise, and you don't outsource your behavior to it. You notice fear, and you don't let it negotiate your standards. You experience pressure, and you don't confuse it with an emergency. Mental toughness isn't loud. It doesn't posture. It doesn't announce boundaries. It holds them. Here are the life lessons the inner citadel teaches slowly and repeatedly. Not everything that enters your awareness deserves access to your mouth. Not every thought needs to be believed just because it arrived. You can feel everything and still choose carefully. This is why Stoic meditation isn't about clearing the mind. It's about guarding it. If you want, take a moment here. Notice the next thought that shows up. Don't improve it. Don't argue with it. Just recognize this is inside my walls. Now notice the urge to act on it. That urge is outside the walls. You don't need to push it away. You don't need to follow it either. That pause is the citadel doing its job. Later, you can write about it in a Stoic journal. Patterns become clearer on paper. But right now, the training is simpler. Feel, pause, choose. That's it. The inner citadel doesn't make life gentle. It makes you unmovable. And in a world that profits from shaking you, that's not detachment. That's freedom. If this way of seeing things steadies you, stay close. Stoic Saga is a place for building this kind of strength, the kind no one applauds, but everyone feels. That freedom only matters when it's tested, and the test never arrives announced. It shows up small. You're back in the car, engine still off, phone in your hand now, screen lit. The message is there. Not long, not explosive, just sharp enough to hook you. A sentence that questions your judgment. A tone that feels dismissive. The kind that lingers longer than it should. Your body reacts before you decide to. Chest tightens, thumb hovers. A response forms almost fully, written in your head. You've said versions of it before. Clear, cutting, justified. If you send it, you'll feel a rush. Not joy, relief. Like finally scratching an itch. That's one path. It's familiar, fast, and it costs very little up front. You hit send, the words land. For a moment, you feel strong again. Then the quiet returns, but thinner. You replay the exchange. You think of a better sentence you could have used. You wonder how it will escalate tomorrow. You carry the heat home. You speak shorter. You sleep lighter. Nothing exploded, but something leaked. There's another path. It doesn't look impressive. It starts with not sending anything. You read the message again, not to analyze it, just to notice what it triggers. Your jaw tightens. You feel the urge to defend your name, your effort, your worth. You don't argue with the feeling. You don't try to calm it down. You wait. 10 seconds feels longer than it should. In that pause, something shifts. Not outside, inside. You remember what actually belongs to you tonight. Your tone, your next move, the standard you'll carry into the next room. You lock the phone, set it face down. Nothing dramatic happens. No one applauds. No lesson is learned by the other person. The world doesn't suddenly become fair, but you stay intact. That's the choice point, not between right and wrong, between impulse and authority, between letting the moment use you or using the moment to practice restraint. This is where Stoicism leaves philosophy and becomes behavior. The Stoics believed character isn't revealed in crisis. It's shaped in repetition. Small decisions made consistently under low stakes until they're ready when the stakes are high. Every time you pause, instead of react, you reinforce a pattern. Every time you choose silence over performance, you strengthen a muscle. This is mental toughness in its most honest form. Not domination. Not control over others. Control over yourself. Here are the life lessons hidden in this moment. You don't need to respond to be respected. You need to respond with intention. Not every battle improves your position. Some just drain it. Silence can be a boundary, not a retreat. If you want, sit with this for a few breaths. Feel the urge to act without obeying it. Notice how it rises, peaks, and fades. That's Stoic meditation in real time. No ritual, no posture, just awareness under pressure. Later, you can write about this in a Stoic journal. What triggered you? What you felt? What you chose? Patterns become visible when you put them on paper. But right now, the training is simpler. Pause. Choose. Protect what matters. These choice points don't change your life all at once. They change who you are becoming. And that changes everything downstream. If you've been here before, thumb hovering chest tight, you're not behind. You're exactly where training begins. If this moment feels familiar, stay with it. Stay with Stoic Saga. This work isn't loud, but it lasts. That's the part no one warns you about. Reaction feels cheap in the moment, but it's expensive over time. You don't pay all at once. You pay in fragments. A sharp reply sent too fast doesn't ruin your life. It just changes the temperature of the room you walk into next. You come home carrying heat you didn't need to keep. Your voice is shorter, your patience thinner. Someone asks a simple question. You answer like it's an accusation. They notice, even if they don't say anything. That's how reaction spreads, quietly, sideways. There's a man I once watched lose something important without ever raising his voice. Good job, solid reputation, family that trusted him. He didn't explode. He didn't scream. He just reacted, constantly. Every small challenge became a debate. Every comment became a defense. Every delay became a personal insult. People learned one thing about him. He was predictable under pressure. That predictability cost him influence. When his opinion mattered most, no one asked for it. Not because he was wrong, because he was reactive. Reaction doesn't make you dangerous. It makes you manageable. That's the hidden cost. When you react on impulse, you tell the world exactly how to move you. Which button works, which tone gets under your skin. And once people know that they don't need power over you, they just need timing. The Stoics understood this deeply. They warned that anger isn't dangerous because it's loud. It's dangerous because it hands over control. Every reaction trades a piece of your authority for a moment of relief. You feel lighter for 10 seconds, then heavier for hours. The night after a reaction is always longer. You replay what you said. You imagine how it landed. You draft better versions of the same sentence you can't take back. Your body stays alert. Your sleep stays shallow. Nothing new happens, but you're not at rest. That's the real bill. Reaction also teaches the wrong lesson to the people closest to you. Your kids learn how to handle frustration by watching your face. Your partner learns whether honesty is safe by listening to your tone. Your co-workers learn whether disagreement leads to solutions or landmines. You don't need to give speeches. Your reactions do the teaching for you. This is where mental toughness gets redefined. It's not about how much you can endure. It's about how little damage you cause while enduring. Here are the life lessons most men learn only after paying too much. A fast reaction feels powerful. A steady response builds trust. Winning the moment often costs the future. Protecting your standard protects everything downstream. Silence, when chosen deliberately, keeps doors open that anger slams shut. If you want, take a pause here. Notice how your body feels after remembering a reaction you regret. The tension, the drop. Now imagine the same moment handled with restraint, not avoidance. Restraint. Feel the difference. That contrast is your teacher. This is where Stoic meditation becomes practical. Not sitting still to escape life, but reviewing how you spend your authority. A Stoic journal later can help you track the pattern, what triggered you, what you felt, what it cost. But right now, the lesson is simpler. Reaction isn't free. It never was. It costs respect. It costs clarity. It costs sleep. And the worst part, it costs you the chance to become someone others can rely on when things get hard. If this lands heavier than you expected, let it. That weight is awareness, not shame. And awareness is where discipline starts. If this reflection feels close to home, stay with Stoic Saga. This space exists to help you keep what reaction tries to take. Quietly, consistently. There is a moment most people never notice. It's quiet, brief, almost unremarkable, and it decides everything. It happens after the surge hits, after the chest tightens, after the thought sharpens, after the urge says, "Move now." Before anything is said, before anything is sent, before anything is done. That moment is the gap. Most men live as if it doesn't exist. Stimulus comes in. Reaction goes out. No pause, no space, no choice. Just speed. But the gap is real. And once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. Think of a man walking into his house after a long day. The door closes behind him. Shoes come off. The noise of the world drops a notch. His kid spills something on the floor. His partner says something that lands wrong. Not cruel, just poorly timed. The surge rises instantly. That heat in the chest, that tightening behind the eyes, that familiar pull towards snapping, correcting, asserting. This is where most damage happens. Not in big fights, in small, unguarded moments, but right here, between the feeling and the response, there's a thin strip of space. That strip is the gap. A man I knew once described it like standing on a cliff edge. Behind him, the storm. In front of him, open air. Jumping felt natural. Staying still felt unbearable. But staying still was the whole point. The Stoics built their entire discipline around this space. Not to eliminate emotion, but to delay obedience to it. They understood something simple and brutal. You don't control what hits you, but you always control what you hand yourself over to. The gap is where that handoff happens. If you miss it, the moment uses you. If you stay with it, you use the moment. This is not about counting to 10 in a polite way. It's about holding the line internally when everything in you wants release. Mental strength is not the absence of pressure. It's the ability to stand inside it without collapsing forward. Here are the life lessons the gap teaches over time. You don't need more self-control. You need more awareness of when it's required. The first urge is almost never the wisest one. A pause doesn't weaken your position. It clarifies it. This is where Stoic meditation actually lives. Not on a cushion, not in silence far away from life, but right here in the middle of friction. If you want, try this now. Let the next thought come. Don't chase it. Don't improve it. Notice the urge that follows. The pull to act, explain, correct, escape. Stay with that pull for one breath longer than usual. That's it. That's the gap. You don't need to feel calm. You don't need to feel confident. You just need to not move yet. Later, a Stoic journal can help you study these moments. Write down what showed up, what you felt, what you chose. But the journal doesn't create the gap. Attention does. Over time, the gap widens. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop being rushed by it. You begin to see that every trigger is an invitation not to react, but to practice. And practice compounds. One paused response doesn't change your life. 100 of them change your character. That's why the gap matters. It's not dramatic. It's not visible. But it's where authority returns. If this way of moving through moments feels unfamiliar, that's okay. Unfamiliar doesn't mean wrong. It means unused. Stay with this work. Stoic Saga is built around this exact space, the narrow ground where pressure meets choice, and a man decides who he's going to be before the world decides for him. Stay right here. Nothing new needs to be understood for the next minute. This isn't a lesson, it's a drill. The kind that happens in real time. You don't need to change where you're sitting. You don't need to get comfortable. Just let your body be how it already is. For the next 60 seconds, you're not fixing anything. You're just watching. Start with your hands. Notice where they are. Resting, clenched, holding something. Don't adjust them yet. Now bring your attention to your jaw, not to relax it on purpose. Just notice whether it's holding. If it wants to loosen on its own, let it. If it doesn't, that's fine. Bring your attention to your breath, not to control it, just to feel where it lands. High in the chest, low in the belly, short, uneven. Whatever it is, let it be that. Now, here's the center of the practice. Notice the next thought that appears. Don't chase it. Don't push it away. Just notice it arrive. It might be about something unfinished, something you said, something you didn't say. Let it sit there. Now notice what follows the thought. there's always something that comes next. An urge. The urge to explain, to correct, to check your phone, to rehearse a conversation that hasn't happened yet. That urge is the signal. This is the moment most people miss. Instead of moving, stay. One breath longer than feels natural. That's the work. You're not suppressing anything. You're not calming yourself down. You're interrupting the reflex. This is mental toughness in its smallest form. Now quietly name what's happening. Not out loud, just internally. Thinking, wanting, tightness, short labels, no stories. Then name what's still yours. My next action, my tone, my standard. You don't need to decide what you'll do yet. You're just remembering that you can decide. That's the 60 seconds. Nothing dramatic happened. No breakthrough, no relief rush. That's good. This practice isn't designed to make you feel better. It's designed to make you less automatic. Here are the life lessons hidden inside. This minute, you don't need hours of discipline. You need moments of interruption. Most reactions don't need to be stopped. They need to be delayed. Strength isn't built when things are calm. It's built when the urge is present and you don't obey it. This is Stoic meditation in motion. Not sitting apart from life, but standing inside it with awareness. Later, if you choose, you can write this down in a Stoic journal. What the thought was, what the urge was, whether you moved or stayed. Patterns show up quickly when you track them. But even without writing, this minute counted. You just practice the gap. And every time you practice it, it becomes easier to find when you need it most. Tomorrow, when something presses you, a message, a tone, a moment that hooks this same pause will be available. Not because you remembered a quote, but because your body has been here before. That's how training works. Quiet, repetitive, unimpressive from the outside, and exactly what holds when pressure hits. If this minute grounded you even slightly, you know what to do. Stay close. Stoic Saga isn't here to inspire you. It's here to help you train one pause at a time. This next part leaves the room with you. Not as a promise, not as motivation, as a test. For the next 24 hours, you're not trying to be calm. You're not trying to be wise. You're training one thing only: delay. Somewhere in the next day, something will press you. It always does. A message that feels disrespectful. A look that lands wrong. A delay that costs you time you don't have. You already know what that moment feels like. Your body reacts before your mind speaks. That's the moment this practice is for. Here's the structure. Simple, clear. One behavior to stop. One behavior to replace it. For the next 24 hours, when you feel the first surge, don't respond immediately. Not out loud, not by text, not with a look. Just don't move yet. 10 seconds. That's it. You're not suppressing anything. You're not deciding what the right response is. You're creating space. In those 10 seconds, do the replacement. Ask one question internally. Is this mine to respond to right now? Not forever, not in general, right now. If the answer is no, you let it pass without explanation. No speeches, no defense. If the answer is yes, you still wait until your voice settles. Then you respond once. Clean, minimal, no stacking, no unloading. This is harder than it sounds. A man I worked with tried this for one day. No journaling, no philosophy, just the delay. He told me later the hardest moment wasn't at work. It was at home. His kid talked back. Nothing extreme, just enough to trigger authority. He felt the heat rise. The words lined up automatically, and then he stopped. 10 seconds. He said nothing, not because he didn't care, but because he was choosing how to care. When he spoke, his voice was steady. The correction landed. The moment passed. No explosion. No repair needed later. That's the quiet payoff. Here are the life lessons this practice reveals fast. Most conflicts don't require speed. They require accuracy. Respect grows when your response is measured, not immediate. Mental strength shows up as restraint long before it shows up as action. You will fail this practice at least once, probably more. That's not a problem. That's data. Notice what you reacted to. Notice what it cost. Notice how long it took your body to settle afterward. If you want to deepen it, write one sentence at the end of the day in a Stoic journal. Today, I reacted when, or today, I paused when. No analysis, no self-attack, just record. This practice isn't about winning the day, it's about building reliability. The kind of man people trust under pressure isn't the one who never feels emotion. It's the one who doesn't let emotion drive the wheel. 24 hours from now, nothing magical will have changed, but something important might. You'll know viscerally that you can slow yourself down, that you're not owned by the first impulse, that there is space even when life crowds you. That knowledge doesn't come from understanding Stoicism. It comes from practicing it. Take this day seriously, not intensely, seriously. Quiet effort, minimal words, delayed response. This is what a disciplined man does when no one is watching. By now, you've seen enough to know this wasn't about controlling the world. It was about reclaiming one small piece of ground, the space between what hits you and what you hand back. Reaction shrinks that space. Practice widens it. And over time, that space becomes character. Not the kind you talk about, the kind people feel when they're around you. A man who doesn't rush to defend himself. A man who doesn't need the last word. A man whose calm isn't soft, but earned. That's the identity forming here. Not a monk, not a statue. A disciplined man who chooses his response when no one is watching. You don't need to announce this to anyone. You don't need to explain what you're doing. In fact, explanation weakens it. Let your restraint speak. Let your timing change. Let people slowly realize they can't rush you, can't bait you, can't pull you into noise as easily anymore. That's when respect shows up. Not loudly, consistently. The core lesson is simple, but not easy. You don't become stronger by reacting harder. You become stronger by reacting less and choosing better. Calm isn't the absence of pressure. It's pressure handled with standards. Wisdom isn't knowing what to say. It's knowing when not to speak yet. And discipline isn't intensity. It's repetition. Small pauses. Every day. You don't need to get this right tomorrow. You just need to notice the moment sooner than last time. That's progress. If today you paused once, even briefly, that counts. If you failed 3 times and noticed the 4th, that counts too. This path isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. Living in a way that doesn't leak your authority every time something presses you. So, here's the identity to carry forward. Not as a slogan, as a quiet standard. This is what a disciplined man does when no one is watching. He pauses, he chooses, he keeps his word to himself. And when he fails, he studies the failure instead of defending it. That's enough. You don't need a heavy promise tonight, just a light one. Show up again. Not tomorrow morning with energy. Tomorrow, wherever the pressure finds you. Train with me tomorrow. And if you stay on this path, the next conversation will have matters. In the next video, we'll talk about how a Stoic faces betrayal without becoming bitter and without losing himself.